HarperCollins presents Have You Seen Her? By Lisa Hall. Read by Kristin Atherton. Prologue. The fire crackles as the flames leap into the frigid November air, sending out showers of sparks. The wooden pallets that have been piled high by volunteering parents, eagerly giving up their Saturday afternoon, crumple and sag as they burn. The guy, the star of this cold, clear bonfire night, is long gone now, his newspaper-stuffed belly and papier-mâché head only lasting a matter of seconds, the crowd cheering as his features catch alight, feeding the frenzy of the flames. My breath steams out in front of me, thick plumes of white that match the smoke that rises from the bonfire. But I am not cold. My hands are warm, and my cheeks flushed pink. The crowd of parents, teachers, and children, 5 or 6 deep in some places, that gathers in the muddy field behind the school, are transfixed as the first of the fireworks shoots into the sky, before sending a spectacular display of colours raining down through the night air. I watch as she keeps her gaze fixed onto the display, the heat of the bonfire casting an orange glow across her features, her hat pushed back on her head so her view isn't obscured. For a moment, I feel a tiny twinge of guilt. After all, none of this is really her fault. Before I remember why I'm doing this, and I bat it away impatiently. All I need to do now is wait. Wait for the realization to dawn on her face, for the fear to grip her heart and make her stomach flip over as she realizes what has happened. For her to realize that Laurel is gone. Chapter 1. Here. Fran thrusts a polystyrene cup of mulled wine into my hand, fragrant steam curling into the cold November air. I don't drink, not even cheap mulled wine with the alcohol boiled out of it. Something I've told her repeatedly for the past 3 years that I've worked for her as a nanny, but she never takes any notice. Thanks. I cup my hands around the warm plastic and let the feeble heat attempt to thaw out my cold fingers. Another firework shoots into the air, blue and white sparks showering across the sky, and a gasp rises from the crowd. Fran sips at her wine, grimacing slightly, before pushing her hat back on her head so she can see properly. She fumbles in her pocket, drawing out a slightly melted chocolate bar. I got this for Laurel, she says, the foil wrapper glinting in the reflected glow from the giant bonfire behind the cordon in front of us. Laurel? I say, frowning slightly. Laurel is a nightmare to get to bed if she has sweets this late in the evening. Fran knows that. Although it'll be my job to tussle Laurel into bed, all hyped up on sugar, not Fran's. I glance down, expecting to see her tiny frame in front of us, in the position she's held all evening. She dragged us to the very edge of the cordon as soon as we arrived at the field behind the school, determined that we wouldn't miss a second of the Oxbury Primary School bonfire and fireworks display. Yes, for Laurel. You know, my daughter, Fran says impatiently, thrusting the chocolate towards me. She follows my gaze and frowns slightly, biting down on her lip before she opens her mouth to speak. Where is she? I turn, anxiously scanning the crowds behind us, the faces of parents, family members, and teachers that have all come out in their droves to watch the display. Laurel isn't there. She isn't in front of me, in the tiny pocket of space she carved out for herself, and she isn't behind me either. I turn back to Fran, trying to ignore the tiny flutter in my...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?